They sold everything. I woke up to find my house empty because my daughter and son-in-law had sold all the furniture and appliances to buy a new car. They said, "The nursing home has everything we need." I said nothing, but I prepared a gift for them. When they saw it, they froze in fear. Before we continue, please subscribe to the channel and let us know where you are listening in the comments. I woke up on a Tuesday morning in mid-March, stretched my arms above my head, and swung my legs out of bed the same way I had for 37 years. The bedroom looked exactly as it should, dresser against the wall, alarm clock on the nightstand, my reading glasses folded beside it. Nothing unusual, nothing wrong. Then I opened the bedroom door and stepped into silence that felt different. The living room was gone, not damaged, not messy, gone. Where my sofa had sat for 2 decades, there was only carpet with 4 deep indentations marking where the legs used to be. The television I'd watched the news on just 2 nights ago had vanished from the wall, leaving behind a darker rectangle of paint and dangling cables. I stood in the doorway and blinked, waiting for my brain to catch up with my eyes. I walked to the kitchen. My footsteps echoed. The table where I ate breakfast every morning, gone. The chairs I'd refinished 5 years ago, gone. I pulled open the refrigerator door, except there was no door to pull, just empty space where the appliance used to stand. The coffee maker I'd used yesterday morning had disappeared from the counter. I moved through each room like a man touring a house he'd never seen before. Bathroom, towels still hung on the rack, but the small storage cabinet had vanished. Guest bedroom, the bed frame was missing. Even the microwave from the kitchen counter had been taken. Only my bedroom remained untouched. Everything else had been stripped clean. I checked the front door first, locked from the inside, deadbolt engaged. I ran my hand along the frame, looking for scratches or damage. Nothing. The back door, same thing. Locked, secure, undisturbed. I tested every window in the house, pushing against the frames, examining the locks. All of them sealed tight. This wasn't a break-in. Someone had used a key. 2 people had keys to my house. My daughter Lottie and her husband Woodrow. I'd given Lottie a key 15 years ago when she was in college, told her she'd always have a place to come home to. Woodrow got his copy when they married. I pulled out my phone and dialed Lottie's number. It rang 4 times, then her voicemail picked up. Her voice sounded cheerful and distant. "Lottie, it's Dad. Call me back, now." I hung up and waited 5 minutes, staring at the phone screen. Nothing. I called again. "Lottie, I need to talk to you. Something's happened here." Again, voicemail. Again, silence. The 3rd time I called, I didn't leave a message. I just listened to her voice on the recording, then disconnected. I tried Woodrow's number next. Same result. Straight to voicemail, no answer, no callback. The silence felt deliberate, calculated. I walked across my front lawn to Martha's house next door. She answered on the 2nd knock, smiling, already talking before I could speak. "Delbert, did you notice anything unusual at my place yesterday afternoon?" I asked, keeping my voice level. Her smile brightened. "Oh yes, there was a moving truck, around 3 o'clock. I thought maybe you were getting new furniture delivered. Did you see who was driving it?" 2 people, a woman and a man. They were loading things, not unloading. Her expression shifted, concern creeping in. "Is everything all right, Delbert?" "Everything's fine. Just checking. Thank you, Martha." I walked back to my house before she could ask more questions. 3 o'clock yesterday afternoon, I'd been on my evening walk, the same route I took every day around that time. They knew my schedule. They knew exactly when I'd be gone. I opened the mailbox at the end of my driveway. Inside was a single envelope, my name written across the front in Lottie's handwriting. I unfolded the note. "Dad, we took the things. We'll talk tomorrow." That was it. The things, as if 37 years of my life could be reduced to casual theft and a promise to chat later. I read it twice, then folded it carefully and slid it into my pocket. The sun was setting by the time I went to the garage. I kept a sleeping bag on the top shelf, left over from a camping trip I'd taken years ago. I pulled it down, carried it through the empty house, and spread it across the living room floor where my sofa used to be. I didn't hide in the bedroom. I claimed the space they had violated. Lying there in the darkness, I stared at the ceiling and let the facts arrange themselves. 37 years I'd lived in this house, raised Lottie here, painted every wall, fixed every leak, replaced every worn fixture. And she'd walked in like it was a storage unit she could empty at will. Not even the coffee maker. They'd taken that too. The note said, tomorrow. That gave me tonight. I didn't sleep. I planned. Questions formed and reformed in my mind. Why now? Why this way? What came next? By the time dawn light crept through the bare windows, I knew exactly what I needed to know. And I knew Lottie would come. She'd want to explain. They always do. I was sitting on the floor near the front window when I heard the car pull into the driveway late the next morning. I didn't move. I'd been waiting there since dawn, watching the street, letting the hours pass. My back ached from the hard floor, but I stayed exactly where I was. The car doors slammed, two distinct sounds, one heavier than the other. Footsteps approached the front door. Then I heard the key slide into the lock. They didn't knock. They just walked in like they owned the place. Lottie entered first, Woodrow behind her. She saw me sitting on the floor and stopped. For just a second, something flickered across her face. Surprise, maybe guilt. But it vanished quickly. "Dad, we need to talk about yesterday," she said, her voice taking on that careful tone people use when they're about to justify something terrible. I stood up slowly, feeling my knees protest. "You took my furniture, my refrigerator, everything. We sold it." She said it like she was discussing the weather. "We needed the money for a down payment. We got $8,500 for everything." The number hit me like a physical blow. $8,500. My sofa, my television, my kitchen table, decades of accumulated life, all of it worth less than a used car to them. "You sold my belongings without asking me." "We found you a place," Lottie continued as if I hadn't spoken. "Sunny Meadows Senior Living. They have everything you need there. You're moving next week." I looked at Woodrow. He was checking his phone, barely paying attention to the conversation. When he noticed me staring, he slipped the phone into his pocket and straightened up. "This house is too big for you anyway, Delbert," he said. "We've already talked to a realtor about listing it." The words took a moment to land. They'd contacted a realtor. They weren't just taking my furniture, they were taking my home. "This is my house," I said quietly. "You're 67, Woodrow replied, his voice flat and dismissive. "You can't maintain a place this size alone. I've maintained it fine for 37 years. Things change. You need to be realistic." Lottie stepped closer, her expression shifting into something that was supposed to look like concern. "Dad, you're 67 years old. You can't take care of yourself properly anymore. This is for your own safety. I'm perfectly capable. We're not discussing this." She cut me off with a sharp gesture. "It's already decided. The facility has an opening next Tuesday." I watched them both carefully. Lottie kept glancing at Woodrow, checking his reactions, making sure they were unified. Woodrow looked impatient, his weight shifting from foot to foot like he had somewhere better to be. He checked his watch twice during the conversation. This wasn't a sudden decision. They'd been planning this for weeks, maybe months. The timing, the moving truck, the facility with the convenient opening, all of it coordinated and deliberate. I let the silence stretch out between us. Lottie's jaw tightened. Woodrow crossed his arms. They were waiting for me to argue, to plead, to give them a reason to escalate. Instead, I said one word. "Fine." Lottie blinked. "What?" I said, "Fine. Give me 1 week to pack my personal things." Woodrow's eyes narrowed. "You're being reasonable about this? Would arguing change anything?" Lottie exchanged a long look with Woodrow. Something passed between them. Surprise, relief, suspicion. She turned back to me. No, it wouldn't. We'll come back next Tuesday to help you move." "I'll be ready," I said, meeting her eyes without blinking. They left within minutes. I stood at the window and watched them drive away in a dark silver SUV that gleamed in the morning sunlight. New. Expensive. $8,500 of my life driving down my street. When the sound of their engine faded completely, I walked to my bedroom. The nightstand drawer held a notebook and pen. I also retrieved a folder from the closet. House deed, bank statements, insurance documents, property tax records, everything I'd kept organized for decades. I carried it all back to the living room and sat cross-legged on the floor where I'd spent the night. Then I started writing. Not emotions, not complaints, facts. House deed, my name only. Purchased outright in 1988. No mortgage, no joint ownership. Never signed power of attorney to anyone. Bank accounts, checking and savings, both in my name. Lottie had no access, never had. I'd kept my finances separate and secure. Monthly income, pension from my architectural firm, social security, small investment returns. Enough to live comfortably. I wrote down dates. The last time I'd seen a doctor, 3 months ago, routine checkup, clean bill of health. My last conversation with Lottie before this, 2 weeks ago, brief and cordial. Nothing that suggested this was coming. Then I started a new section, weaknesses, vulnerabilities, things I'd noticed but never questioned before. Woodrow's new obsession with money, the way he'd asked about my house value last Thanksgiving, Lottie's sudden interest in senior care facilities 3 months ago, masked as concern for a neighbor. I filled 3 pages before the light outside began to fade. Property rights, estate law, banking access, every detail I could remember from 30 years of architectural contracts and real estate dealings. At the bottom of the 3rd page, I wrote 2 names. Leonard Harrison, real estate attorney, Dr. Stevens, my physician. I had a week. They thought that was barely enough time to pack a life. They were wrong. It was more than enough time to protect one. 3 days after they left, I called Lottie. I kept my voice low, tired. "Lottie, I need a few more days. I'm not feeling well." She sighed, that particular sound that meant her patience was wearing thin. "What's wrong now, Dad?" "I haven't been sleeping. Feel dizzy when I stand up too quickly." It wasn't entirely a lie. The stress had carved hollows under my eyes, and food tasted like cardboard. But the timing was strategic. "You're just stressed about the move," she said. "You'll feel better once you're settled at Sunny Meadows." "Maybe, but I need a few more days to rest." "Fine, but we can't keep postponing this. The facility is holding the room." "I understand. Just a few days." After she hung up, I spread my property documents across the bedroom floor, the only room in my house where I could still sit comfortably. House deed, title insurance, tax records. I photographed each page with my phone, checking signatures and dates. Everything confirmed what I already knew. My name only, no joint ownership, no power of attorney ever signed to anyone. This was my first weapon. The next morning, I drove downtown to my bank. I dressed carefully, khakis, a pressed button-down shirt. I needed them to see me as sharp, capable. The branch manager, a woman named Patricia who'd handled my accounts for 15 years, welcomed me into her office. "Mr. Ellis, I'm glad you came in. Your daughter was here recently asking about your accounts." My hands tightened on the chair arms. "What exactly did she ask?" "She wanted access to your account information. Said she needed to help manage your finances. We told her we couldn't provide that without proper authorization from you. And I never gave any such authorization." "No, sir. Your accounts are yours alone. Is there a problem?" "No problem. Just making sure my affairs are in order. Thank you for protecting my privacy." I left the bank with a burning certainty. Lottie had been there 2 weeks before they emptied my house. This wasn't impulsive. They'd been testing the perimeter, looking for weak points, planning their attack. Patricia gave me the name of an attorney, Leonard Harrison, specializing in elder law and asset protection. I called from the parking lot and made an appointment for the next afternoon. Leonard's office occupied the 5th floor of a mid-rise building downtown. The elevator ride gave me time to organize my thoughts, arrange the facts into a clear sequence. When I walked into his office, I carried everything on my phone. Photographs of documents, notes from the bank meeting, a timeline I'd constructed. He was mid-50s, salt and pepper hair, sharp eyes that assessed me quickly. "Mr. Ellis, based on what you've told me, you have grounds for criminal charges. They sold your property without consent." "I don't want charges filed." "Not yet?" His eyebrows lifted slightly. "May I ask why?" "I want something more permanent. I want to make it impossible for them to benefit from pushing me out, no matter what legal tricks they try." "You're talking about asset protection." "I'm talking about making sure that if they dig a hole for me, they're the ones who fall into it." He leaned back in his chair, studying me. Then he nodded. "I can help with that. There are several strategies we can implement." He suggested I get comprehensive medical documentation immediately. If they tried claiming incompetency, and he was certain they would, I needed proof dated before any guardianship attempt. I scheduled an appointment with Dr. Stevens that same week. He'd been my physician for 12 years, knew my health history intimately. "Delbert, this is quite an extensive evaluation you're requesting. Is everything all right?" "I need documentation of my mental and physical state. Complete documentation." He set down his pen, looked at me directly. Is someone questioning your competency? Not yet, but they will. And when they do, I want proof. I see. Well, let's be thorough then. We'll run a full cognitive assessment, physical evaluation, the works. Thank you. And I'll need written reports, official, dated, signed. Over the next several days, I went through blood work, memory tests, problem-solving exercises, physical examinations. Dr. Stevens documented everything: my ability to manage finances, remember appointments, make reasoned decisions, care for myself independently. Back home each evening, I sat on my bedroom floor, still the only furnished space, and organized everything into a 3-ring binder: property documents in one section, bank records in another, medical reports in the third. I was building something, though not the case Leonard had initially suggested. Incompetent people don't systematically document their legal rights. Incompetent people don't hire attorneys and schedule comprehensive medical evaluations. By the time Lottie made her next move, every piece of evidence would prove the opposite of what she claimed. By the end of the week, I had everything I needed: property documentation proving sole ownership, bank confirmation of Lottie's earlier snooping, medical reports certifying my complete competency, and an attorney who understood exactly what I wanted. Leonard scheduled our next appointment for the following Tuesday. We'll set up the trust, he said. Once it's in place, your assets will be protected from any guardianship claims. They won't be able to touch anything. I drove home as the sun set over the Phoenix skyline, and for the first time since finding that note in my mailbox, I smiled. On Tuesday morning, I returned to Leonard's office. The conference room table was covered with documents, each one prepared and organized with tabs marking signature lines. I want to make sure you understand what you're signing, Mr. Ellis. This is an irrevocable trust. Once established, you cannot dissolve it or change the beneficiary. I understand. My house and savings go into the trust, with the Phoenix Homeless Coalition as the beneficiary upon my death. Correct. But you retain lifetime use of the property and income from the assets. You can live in your house until you die. What you cannot do is sell it or remove it from the trust. And neither can anyone claiming guardianship over me. Exactly. If your daughter somehow obtains guardianship, she still cannot access these assets. They're no longer yours to control. They belong to the trust, which means they belong to no one she can manipulate. Precisely. Are you ready to sign? I've been ready since the day I woke up to an empty house. The signing took 2 hours. Leonard walked me through each section, explaining clauses and implications. A notary arrived halfway through, asking the required questions with practiced efficiency. Mr. Ellis, do you understand what you're signing? Yes. Are you signing of your own free will without coercion? Completely of my own free will. And you understand this trust is irrevocable? I do. That's exactly the point. She stamped each signature, witnessed each initial. Leonard's assistant made copies and prepared filing packets. By 2 o'clock that afternoon, everything was submitted to the appropriate county offices. Within 48 hours, this will be official and recorded, Leonard said as I stood to leave. Your house and approximately $340,000 in savings are now legally protected. I shook his hand. Thank you. What will you tell your daughter? Nothing. Let them proceed with whatever they're planning. I want them fully committed before they discover what I've done. Over the next 2 days, I visited 3 thrift stores around Phoenix. I wasn't shopping for comfort. I was creating a set design. I needed furniture that looked like surrender, like poverty, like a man who'd given up. I found a couch with sagging springs and faded brown upholstery. $25. The clerk eyed it skeptically. This couch has seen better days. You sure you want it? It's perfect for what I need. If you say so, $25. I smiled slightly. Best $25 I'll spend this month. I added a scratch kitchen table, mismatched chairs with wobbly legs, a small television from the 90s that still had a VCR built into the bottom. Total cost, $600. I rented a truck for the day and hauled everything back to my house. Arranging the furniture took careful thought. The saggy couch went where my leather sofa used to be. The wobbly table in the kitchen. Everything positioned to maximum pathetic effect. Anyone walking through would see exactly what I wanted them to see. A defeated man who'd accepted his reduced circumstances. Several days later, Lottie and Woodrow arrived unannounced. I heard their car in the driveway, the familiar sound of their keys in the lock. They walked in without knocking. Lottie moved through the living room slowly, taking in the furniture. "Well, Dad, I see you've gotten some furniture. This is quite a change from what you had." "It's what I could afford," I said quietly, not meeting her eyes. Woodrow picked up a throw pillow from the couch, examining it with obvious distaste. "This couch looks like it came from a dumpster. Thrift store, $25. Lottie's expression shifted into something that was supposed to resemble sympathy, but looked more like satisfaction. "You see, Dad? You can live more simply. You don't need expensive things. This is good for you." They moved to the kitchen. Woodrow pressed on the table, making it rock. "This table wobbles. You should have paid more." "I'll manage. At Sunny Meadows, everything is provided. New furniture, nice rooms. You won't have to worry about any of this." "When do you want me to move?" "Soon. We'll let you know. Are you packing your personal things?" "Yes, a little each day." Woodrow murmured something to Lottie I wasn't meant to hear. At least he's being cooperative now. They stayed 20 minutes, walking through each room, Woodrow taking photos with his phone, probably for the realtor they had already contacted. I followed them through my house, shoulders slumped, nodding when they spoke. Every gesture was calculated, every moment of submissiveness a deliberate performance. After they left, I sat on the $25 couch and listened to their SUV drive away. The springs creaked beneath me. Around me, $600 of carefully selected props created the perfect illusion. But in a filing cabinet in a government office downtown, legal documents told a different story. The house they planned to sell belonged to a trust now. The money they planned to access was legally beyond their reach. And I was just getting started. My phone buzzed, a text from Lottie. "Glad to see you're settling in, Dad. We'll schedule the move soon." I didn't reply. Let her think silence meant compliance. In 3 weeks, I had another appointment with Leonard. There were more traps to set. 2 weeks after Lottie and Woodrow inspected my furniture, a mail carrier knocked on my door with a certified letter. I signed for it, carried it to my kitchen table, opened it carefully. Petition for guardianship. Filed in Maricopa County Court. Lottie Ellis Gibson and Woodrow Gibson requesting legal control over my person and estate due to alleged incompetence stemming from advanced age and declining mental capacity. Court date: 3 weeks out, late May. I read through their claims. Poor judgment evidenced by inappropriate furniture purchases, living alone without adequate support, demonstrated memory problems, inability to manage finances properly. They'd hired an attorney, Rebecca Chen, from a downtown firm. I picked up my phone. "Leonard, they've filed for guardianship." "When did you receive notice?" 10 minutes ago. Certified letter. Court date is 3 weeks out." "What are they claiming?" "Incompetence due to age, poor judgment, memory problems, the usual." "Can you come to my office this afternoon?" "I'll be there in 30 minutes. Leonard spread the petition across his conference table, reading carefully, making notes. "Their petition is weak, but we need to take it seriously. They have an attorney, Rebecca Chen. She's competent." "What do they have for evidence?" "Photos of your thrift store furniture, claims about living alone, alleged memory issues, though I see no specifics, which means they're probably fabricating. I have medical documentation proving competency." "Good. We'll need more. Community involvement, intellectual activities, anything showing active engagement and sharp thinking." "I volunteer at the library twice a week. I've been doing architectural drawings for a personal project." "Perfect. Document everything." He paused, tapping his pen against the table. "And Delbert, I have another suggestion. We should look into Woodrow's finances." "Why?" "They're claiming to act in your financial interest. If he's financially unstable, that's relevant. I know a good investigator." The next morning, I visited Phoenix Public Library and asked to speak with the volunteer coordinator. She printed my attendance records, wrote a letter describing my work with adult literacy students. I thanked her and drove home to photograph my architectural drawings, complex plans for a theoretical sustainable home, showing electrical systems, plumbing, structural details. Each page was dated, proving work completed within the past month. That afternoon, I met Marcus Webb in his office, a small space in a strip mall near downtown. He was mid-40s, former detective, direct in his questions. "Mr. Ellis, Leonard says you need financial background on someone." "My son-in-law, Woodrow Gibson. He and my daughter are trying to get guardianship over me, claiming I can't manage my finances. And you want to know about his financial situation. I want to know if the man questioning my judgment has any room to talk. Credit history, banking records, spending patterns. I can get most of it legally within 2 weeks. My retainer is $1,500. How soon can you start? Today. I wrote the check. The next 10 days passed slowly. I maintained my routine, library twice a week, working on drawings at home, organizing the evidence Leonard and I had gathered. I didn't contact Lottie. Let them believe their petition was proceeding unopposed. Webb emailed first, then delivered a bound report in person. I read it at my kitchen table, making notes in the margins. Woodrow had $23,000 in credit card debt across 5 cards, all maxed out. Transaction records showed regular payments to online platforms, sports betting sites, poker games. The man claiming I couldn't manage money was drowning in debt from impulsive decisions. 2 days before the hearing, Leonard and I met for final preparation. He spread Webb's report across his desk. This is devastating for them. Woodrow has serious debt problems and clear evidence of impulsive behavior. When do we reveal it? Strategically. Let them present their case first. Let them claim you can't manage finances. Then we show the judge who really has financial problems. What about the trust? We reveal that when they're deep into their argument about controlling your estate. Maximum impact. They'll be prepared for this hearing. So will we, better prepared. That night, I laid out my clothes for court. Khaki slacks, navy blazer, crisp white shirt. Professional, competent, nothing that suggested decline. On my kitchen table, 3 folders held everything Leonard and I had assembled. Medical reports, library documentation, architectural drawings, and Webb's investigation report. That last folder was my secret weapon. Let them paint me as incompetent. Let them show their photos and make their claims. The next morning, in front of a judge, they'd learn what I'd known since the day they emptied my house. You don't corner a man who spent 40 years building structures without learning exactly where the weak points are. I set my alarm for 6. The courthouse opened at 8. I intended to be early. I arrived at Maricopa County Courthouse 40 minutes before the hearing, parked in the garage, walked through security. The metal detector beeped at my belt buckle. I removed it, walked through again, collected my folders. The elevator took me to the 3rd floor. I found courtroom 4C and sat on a wooden bench outside, reviewing my notes. My hands were steady. Leonard arrived 20 minutes later, carrying his briefcase. He sat beside me, leaned close. Ready? Yes. Remember, answer the judge's questions clearly and completely. Don't volunteer extra information. Don't get emotional. I won't. We entered the courtroom together. Lottie and Woodrow were already seated at the petitioner's table with Rebecca Chen. This was the first time I'd seen them since the furniture inspection. Lottie wore a dark blue dress, professional, concerned daughter costume. Woodrow sat rigid, hands clasped on the table. Neither looked at me as I took my seat. Judge Patricia Morrison entered, mid-50s, gray suit, reading glasses on a chain. The bailiff called us to order. We're here regarding petition for guardianship over Delbert Ellis, filed by Lottie Gibson and Woodrow Gibson. Ms. Chen, you may present your case. Rebecca Chen stood, smooth and prepared. Thank you, Your Honor. We're here today because Mr. Ellis, at 67, is no longer capable of making sound decisions regarding his care and finances. She showed photos of my thrift store furniture on a screen, talked about my living alone, making questionable purchases, showing signs of decline. Then she called Lottie to the stand. I watched my daughter place her hand on the Bible, swear to tell the truth. Ms. Gibson, describe your father's current living situation. He lives alone in a large house. Recently, he purchased extremely poor quality furniture, items that barely function. It shows he's not thinking clearly. Have you noticed other concerning behaviors? Yes. He forgets conversations we've had, repeats himself, can't keep track of important matters. Each lie landed precisely. Her voice carried just the right tone, worried, reluctant, loving daughter, forced to take difficult action. I made notes on my legal pad, handed them to Leonard. He read, nodded. In your opinion, can he safely care for himself? No. That's why we're here. I love my father and want to protect him. When it was our turn, Leonard stood and placed 3 medical reports on the evidence table. Your Honor, Mr. Ellis underwent comprehensive evaluations by 3 independent physicians within the past month. Dr. Stevens, his general practitioner, Dr. Patricia Yee, a psychiatrist, Dr. Robert Martinez, a neurologist. All 3 confirm excellent cognitive function. He presented my library volunteer records, the letter from the coordinator describing my work with adult literacy students. He displayed my architectural drawings on the screen, complex residential designs showing spatial reasoning and technical skill. Then the judge looked directly at me. Mr. Ellis, please take the stand. I walked up, was sworn in, sat. The microphone needed adjusting. I fixed it, looked at Judge Morrison. Tell me about the furniture Ms. Gibson mentioned. I purchased inexpensive items from thrift stores, Your Honor. It was a deliberate choice to prove I could live simply if needed. Your daughter claims you forget conversations and repeat yourself. Your response? That's inaccurate, Your Honor. I have no memory problems. I can detail every conversation I've had with my daughter over the past 2 months if needed. That won't be necessary. Tell me about your daily activities. I volunteer at Phoenix Public Library twice weekly, working with adult literacy students. I do architectural drawings for enjoyment. I manage my own finances, medical appointments, and household affairs. She asked more questions. I answered each one clearly, specifically. When I returned to my seat, Leonard leaned close. Perfect. He stood again. Your Honor, there's another critical matter. Mr. Ellis has already established an irrevocable trust for his assets. The judge looked up from her notes. Explain. 3 weeks ago, Mr. Ellis transferred his home and financial assets into a trust with a charitable organization as beneficiary. He retains lifetime use of his property. Even if guardianship were granted, which we strongly oppose, the petitioners could not access or control these assets. Silence filled the courtroom. I watched Lottie's eyes widen. She turned to Woodrow, whispered urgently. His face went red. They had a frantic, hushed conversation with Rebecca Chen. Mr. Ellis set this up himself? Yes, Your Honor, with my guidance, but the decision and execution were entirely his. That demonstrates considerable financial sophistication, Mr. Harrison. Judge Morrison reviewed the documents for several minutes. Then she removed her glasses. I've reviewed the evidence presented. The medical documentation is compelling. 3 independent physicians confirm Mr. Ellis is cognitively sound. His volunteer work and technical drawings demonstrate active engagement and mental acuity. Most significantly, his own testimony has been clear, logical, and entirely coherent. She paused. The petition for guardianship is denied. Another pause, longer this time. I'll add that I'm troubled by testimony suggesting Mr. Ellis's property was sold without his knowledge or consent. That raises questions about the petitioner's motives. I packed my folders while Leonard shook my hand. We walked out together, took the elevator down. I crossed the parking garage toward my car. Footsteps behind me, quick, aggressive. Ellis! What the hell was that in there? I stopped, turned. Woodrow stormed toward me, Lottie following. That was called evidence. You set up some trust? You think you're clever, old man? I understand perfectly. I protected what's mine. You'll regret this. You have no idea. I looked at him coldly. I haven't even started yet. What's that supposed to mean? I got in my car, locked the doors. You'll find out. I drove away watching them in my rearview mirror. Lottie had her phone to her ear. Woodrow paced, gesturing angrily. They'd just lost control of my property, my finances, and their plan to warehouse me in some facility. But from their perspective, that was a defensive loss. They didn't know yet that I was done defending. 2 days after the court hearing, I met Leonard at his office. We weren't defending anymore. We were attacking. Leonard spread Marcus Webb's investigation report across his conference table. The court case is over, but we have information about Woodrow's finances. There's something we can do with this. I'm listening. Woodrow's creditors have a right to know about his attempted fraud. When someone tries to illegally seize assets, that's relevant to credit risk assessment. You're suggesting we inform his creditors? I'm suggesting we provide them with factual information about court proceedings that are public record. I can draft letters on firm letterhead explaining the guardianship case and his attempt to access your property. How quickly can you send them? Today. We have addresses for all 5 credit card companies from Webb's report. Do it. Leonard drafted the letters while I watched. each one professional, factual, citing specific court records. He printed them on law firm letterhead, prepared certified mail labels. By late afternoon, they were sent. The responses came within days. Leonard forwarded them to me. Collection notices sent to Woodrow, credit limits reduced to zero, payment demands with legal threats. Each message was another tightening vice. Severe, Leonard said during a phone call. He was already in financial trouble. This pressure might push him into bankruptcy. He was planning to put me in a facility and sell my house. I'm not sympathetic. Understood. There's something else we could do, though it's more public. What? Document everything and make it available to your community, not for revenge, for warning. Other elderly people should know what tactics to watch for. I thought about that. Then I started writing. I spent several evenings at my kitchen table with my laptop, referencing the timeline I'd created weeks ago. March 15th, woke to an empty house. March 16th, informed of facility plan. April 28th, guardianship petition filed. Every date, every event, every lie they told in court. I wasn't venting, I was documenting. I scanned court records, the guardianship petition, photos of my empty house the morning after the theft. I organized everything chronologically, created a PDF. 22 pages, thoroughly sourced. Then I found their neighborhood Facebook group, a community page where residents discussed local issues. I created an account using my real name, nothing hidden, everything transparent. The post title, When Family Exploits the Elderly, My Experience with Financial Abuse. I uploaded the document, double-checked the links, wrote a brief introduction explaining that everything was verifiable through public records. Then I clicked Post. That was Tuesday morning. By noon, 15 comments. By afternoon, 50 plus, multiple shares. By the next day, the post had spread across multiple Phoenix community groups. Neighbors who knew Lottie and Woodrow began commenting. Some shared their own suspicions about the couple. Others expressed outrage. I didn't engage with the comments. I just watched. Over the following week, I saw the consequences unfold. A neighbor stopped me outside one morning. "Delbert, I saw your post online. I had no idea what your daughter did to you. Most people don't see these things until they're documented. You were very brave to share that publicly. I was very careful to share only facts. Everything in that post is verifiable." Leonard called with updates. Someone at Woodrow's workplace had seen the post. Questions were being asked. Lottie and Woodrow tried deleting the original, but I'd already shared it through other accounts and groups. The information was permanent. 10 days after I published the post, my phone rang. Lottie's number. I considered not answering, but I wanted to hear this. "Dad, how could you? How could you post that online?" Her voice was ragged, crying. "I posted facts, public records, court documents. Everyone in our neighborhood has seen it. Our friends won't talk to us. Do you know what you've done?" "I know exactly what I've done. I told the truth. Woodrow's boss saw it. He might lose his job. We're being destroyed. You tried to have me declared incompetent. You tried to steal my home. You lied under oath. We were trying to help you. You were trying to help yourselves. To my property. To my money." She was screaming now. "You've ruined our lives." "No, I simply told the truth. You ruined your own lives when you decided to steal from me. You can't do this to us." I kept my voice calm. "It's already done." I hung up. The house was quiet afterward. I walked to my window and looked out at the Phoenix evening, the sky turning orange and purple over the desert. Somewhere across the city, my daughter and son-in-law were watching their carefully constructed lives fall apart, one Facebook share at a time. Leonard had warned me that public exposure would have consequences. He was right. 3 days later, I received a text from Lottie. "We need to talk, in person, please." I didn't respond immediately. I wanted them to wait, to wonder, to feel what uncertainty felt like. When I finally replied, I wrote one word. "When?" Her response came in seconds. "Tomorrow, I'll come to you." I knew what this meant. They were desperate now, and desperate people make mistakes. Through various sources over the next few weeks, I tracked their unraveling. A neighbor mentioned seeing a tow truck at their apartment building. Leonard forwarded a bank notice about SUV repossession proceedings. Marcus Webb sent updates about eviction filings. Public record, he reminded me. Each piece of information confirmed what I already knew. They were collapsing under the weight of their own decisions. On a Tuesday afternoon in early July, I saw Lottie's car pull into my driveway. She sat in the driver's seat for a full minute before getting out, gathering courage maybe, or composing herself. I watched from my window. She walked to my door slowly. I opened it before she knocked. She looked exhausted, dark circles under her eyes, hair pulled back carelessly, clothes wrinkled. This wasn't the polished woman from the court hearing. "Dad, I know you don't want to see me. I understand, but please just listen." I stood with my arms crossed. "I'm listening. We made horrible mistakes. I see that now. Taking your furniture, the guardianship thing, all of it, we were wrong. You lied under oath. I know we did terrible things. And you had every right to expose us the way you did. I'm not here to argue. I'm here to ask for a chance to fix this." "Fix what exactly?" "We're losing everything. The car, our apartment, everything. Woodrow's job is hanging by a thread. We need help, and I know we don't deserve it, but I'm asking anyway. You want money? $15,000, that's all. It would let us catch up on rent, keep the car, get some breathing room, and in exchange, we'll sign away any claims to your property forever. You'll never hear from us again." She pulled a folder from her bag, slid it across my kitchen table. "You have documents?" "Yes, everything prepared. A complete release, legal separation. We'd have no right to anything of yours, ever." I opened the folder, but didn't read carefully, not in front of her. I flipped through pages, noted the signatures already prepared for me. Something felt wrong. The offer was too neat, too prepared. I closed the folder. "I need to review these. There's nothing hidden in there, I promise. It's straightforward." "Then you won't mind if I have my attorney look at them?" "Dad, we need an answer soon. The eviction is... I'll review them and let you know." "When?" "When I'm ready. That's the offer. Take it or leave." She looked defeated. "Fine, please. Just don't take too long." I walked her to the door, opened it, waited. She turned at the threshold, tried one more appeal. "Dad, please, we're about to lose everything." "You lost everything when you emptied my house. You just didn't know it yet." After she left, I got in my car immediately and drove to Leonard's office. I'd called ahead. He was working late. We spread the documents across his conference table under the fluorescent lights. This looks standard at first glance. Release of claims, no contact agreement, property rights waiver. But give me time. If there's something hidden, it'll be subtle. He read for 20 minutes while I waited. Then he stopped, picked up a highlighter. "There, page 4, section 7, subsection C. What is it?" "It's a provision about post-mortem estate review rights, buried in language about resolving future disputes." "In English?" "They're creating a legal basis to challenge your trust after you die. It's not explicit, but a good attorney could use this wording to argue they deserve a probate hearing. The trust could be challenged as having been made under duress or undue influence." I felt the pieces click together. So this isn't surrender. No, this is a long game. They give up now, take your $15,000, wait for nature to take its course, then challenge everything in probate court when you're not here to defend it. Patient predators are the most dangerous kind. What do you want to do? Can we modify these documents, remove that provision? We could try, but they won't sign it. That clause is the whole point for them. Then I won't sign either. They'll keep trying. They're desperate. Let them be desperate. I'm not giving them ammunition to use against my estate. They might try something else. I'm counting on it. Each time they try, they reveal more about their strategy. I drove home as the city lights came on across Phoenix. In the folder on my passenger seat sat their carefully crafted trap, now exposed and useless. Lottie would call asking for my decision. I'd tell her no, and she'd want to know why. I wouldn't explain. Let her wonder which clause gave them away. Let her doubt her own cleverness. When I got home, I found a voicemail from her, left while I was with Leonard. Her voice was small, defeated. "Dad, please, we're out of options. The car is being repossessed on Friday. We need your answer." Friday was 3 days away. I didn't call back. Instead, I sat at my kitchen table and began writing a new document, a detailed account of this latest manipulation attempt, complete with photos of their proposed agreement and Leonard's analysis of the hidden trap. This would be my answer. Not money, not rescue, truth. 3 days after discovering the hidden clause, I called Lottie. "I've reviewed your proposal. The answer is no. Dad, please just listen. I found the clause. Page 4, the probate provision. Silence on the other end. I'm not giving you money, but I have a different proposal. Come to my house tomorrow at 2. Bring Woodrow. What kind of proposal? You'll find out tomorrow. I hung up. That afternoon, Leonard and I spent 3 hours at his office preparing documents. A police complaint detailing the $8,500 theft, complete with photographs of my empty house, neighbor testimony, bank records showing their SUV purchase. A civil lawsuit itemizing every stolen item and demanding recovery plus damages, evidence of their threatening voicemails and messages. Most importantly, a properly written release of claims with no hidden provisions, paired with a repayment agreement. Leonard organized everything in clear plastic sleeves with labeled tabs. If they refuse tomorrow, we file Monday morning. They won't refuse. You seem certain. They're desperate. Desperate people calculate odds. The next day, Leonard arrived 30 minutes early. We arranged my living room deliberately. Documents on the coffee table, 2 chairs facing the couch where they'd sit. Leonard stood, not sat, a prosecutorial position. At 2 o'clock exactly, their car pulled up. I opened the door. Woodrow's shirt was wrinkled. Lottie's makeup couldn't hide the exhaustion. They saw Leonard and stopped. "Why is your attorney here?" "He's a witness." "A witness to what?" "To your choice. Come inside. Sit down." They sat on my cheap couch, springs creaking under them. I placed a folder on the coffee table and slid it toward them. "I'm not giving you $15,000, but I am making you an offer." Lottie opened the folder, started reading. "You can take the furniture from this house, the pieces you mocked, the thrift store items. They're yours." Woodrow looked up. "We don't want your garbage furniture. In exchange, you'll sign a release of all claims to my property, a real release, without hidden clauses, and you'll repay the $8,500 you stole when you sold my belongings." "We don't have that money. You have 60 days. Installments are acceptable." Woodrow stood. "And if we refuse?" "Leonard, show them." Leonard opened his briefcase with practiced precision. "If you refuse, Mr. Ellis files these documents on Monday. First, a criminal complaint with Phoenix Police for theft of property valued at $8,500. You wouldn't. Second, a civil lawsuit for recovery and damages. Third, documentation of threatening communications, which could constitute elder abuse under Arizona Statute 46456. Elder abuse? That's ridiculous. Financial exploitation of a person over 65 is a Class 4 felony in Arizona. Conviction carries up to 3 years in prison and a permanent criminal record. I kept my voice level. You tried to steal my house. You sold my property. You lied in court. Arizona law is very clear about protecting people my age from exactly what you did. Woodrow took a step toward me. Leonard moved between us immediately. "Sit down, Mr. Gibson." "This is extortion." "No. Extortion would be demanding money for silence. Mr. Ellis is offering you a choice. Sign a legal agreement to repay what you stole or face criminal and civil proceedings. That's not extortion. That's restitution." Woodrow moved closer. Leonard's voice didn't rise, but it cut like a blade. "If you take one more step toward my client, that's assault, in front of 2 witnesses. I will add that to the complaint." Woodrow stopped, fists clenched. Lottie pulled him back. "Stop. Just stop." I set my phone on the table. Timer displayed 2 minutes. "You have 2 minutes. Sign the documents or I file Monday morning." 2 minutes to decide our entire future? You had months to decide mine. You chose to empty my house while I slept. You chose to lie in court. You chose to try trapping me with fraudulent contracts. I'm being generous with 2 minutes. Lottie looked at Woodrow. "We don't have a choice." "There's always a choice." "No, there isn't. Not anymore." She reached for the pen. They signed, all of it, release of claims, repayment agreement, no contact order. Leonard witnessed each signature, wrote the date and time in blue ink. I watched in silence, arms crossed. "The furniture's in the truck outside," Woodrow said when they finished. "Load it." They moved mechanically, carried the sagging couch through the doorway together, came back for chairs, table. I stood in the doorway, not helping, just watching. Woodrow muttered something as he passed. I heard it anyway. "You'll regret this. You wanted me in a facility with nothing. Now you have nothing. That seems fair." They drove away without responding. I watched their truck disappear around the corner, carrying furniture worth $600. a fraction of what they'd stolen. Leonard stood beside me. They'll pay, they sign the agreement. If they miss a payment, we file everything. I nodded but said nothing. The signed documents were already in his briefcase, copies made, originals headed to a safe deposit box. Behind me, my house was empty again, but this time by my choice, not theirs. I had 60 days to wait for the first payment. In the meantime, I had a life to rebuild. The next morning, I went furniture shopping. Real furniture this time, not props. 2 weeks later, the mail carrier rang my doorbell with a certified letter. I signed for it, carried it inside, opened it at my kitchen table. A check for $3,000. Clipped to it, a note from Lottie in her careful handwriting. First payment, as agreed. No apology, no explanation. I photographed both, then drove to the bank. The teller processed the deposit, handed me a receipt. I scanned it at home and emailed a copy to Leonard. First payment received, I wrote. On time? His response came within minutes. Good. That starts the clock for the next one. If they miss it, we proceed. The next day I visited a real furniture store, not thrift shops this time, a proper showroom with quality pieces built to last. I tested couches by sitting, examined construction, asked about warranties. The salesperson smiled when I selected a solid leather couch. This will last you 20 years with proper care. 20 years. I'll be 87. Still a good investment. Yes, it is. I'll take it. Delivery came the following afternoon. The crew placed everything where I directed. Living room couch where the cheap one had been, dining table centered in the kitchen. Each piece erased a memory of the poverty I'd performed for months. When they left, I sat on the new couch. Solid, comfortable, permanent. Through careful inquiry and public records, I learned what the payment cost them. They'd sold the SUV back to the dealer at a loss, taken a high-interest personal loan for the remainder, moved to a cheaper apartment on the other side of Phoenix. Woodrow's professional reputation never recovered from the social media exposure. They were surviving, barely, but they were paying. In the last week of August, my sister Mamie drove up from Tucson. She's 70, sharp-eyed, practical. She walked through my house examining everything, nodded approvingly at the new furniture. This is much better than what you described on the phone. The other furniture was temporary, for show. Clever, you let them think you'd surrendered. While I was building my defense, we made coffee in my new coffee maker, a good one, replacing the machine they'd sold. Sat on my comfortable couch and talked. Was it worth it, Delbert, losing Lottie? I considered the question honestly. I didn't lose her. I discovered who she actually was. That's not the same thing. No, but it's honest. She saw me as a resource to exploit, not a father to respect. Better to know that truth than live with the illusion. Do you think she'll ever really apologize? No, she's sorry she got caught, not sorry for what she did. There's a difference. You sound at peace with it. I am. I protected what I built. That's enough. The following week, I met Leonard at his office one final time. He'd prepared a new will, everything to charitable organizations, specifically those protecting elderly people from financial abuse. Nothing to Lottie, he confirmed. Nothing. Are you certain? Completely. She'll try to contest it anyway, but the trust already handles the house and most assets. This is just making my intentions absolutely clear. The documentation we've built will make any contest nearly impossible to win. Nearly? Nothing in law is absolute, but you have medical documentation, court records proving her attempted fraud, signed agreements. Any judge would see this will as the rational decision of a competent person protecting themselves. Then I'm satisfied. I signed. Leonard witnessed. The notary stamped. Everything official, protected, clear. That afternoon, I returned to my volunteer work at Phoenix Public Library. I'd been absent for weeks, focused on my battle. The staff welcomed me back immediately. Delbert, we missed you. I settled into the familiar routine, working with adult learners on reading skills. During a break, a child approached and tugged my sleeve. Mr. Delbert, you're back. Where were you? I had some family business to take care of. Is everything okay now? Yes, everything's resolved. Will you tell us a story? I smiled. What kind of story? Something with a happy ending. I knelt to the child's level. All right. Once there was a clever rabbit who everyone thought was too old to protect his garden. The child settled in to listen. I told the story while thinking, some stories have happy endings, some just have fair ones. Sometimes that's better. On the last evening of August, I stood at my living room window, watching the sun set over Phoenix. The sky turned orange, purple, deep blue. My house was furnished again, by my choice, with my money. They'd wanted me in a facility, dependent and controlled. I was standing in my own home, independent and secure. I'd lost a daughter, but I'd kept my dignity, my home, my future. The first payment was $3,000, 5 more to go. By January, I'd have it all back. Not victory, justice. And justice was enough. If you like this story, please like this video, subscribe to the channel, and share your impressions of this story in the comments. To listen to the next story, click on the box on the left. Thank you for watching.